So first of all, let me tell you why I'm a part of Ecosense, and it really has to do with the slide right here, and it's this sensor, this 30 counts per hour per picocurie per liter sensor. It was um, invented and designed and created by a company called FT Lab, who is now the second largest owner of Ecosense. So they're a Korean company that works closely with the university there in South Korea, and they came up with this amazing sensor that gets incredible counting statistics. It's extremely sensitive, and yet they found a way to manufacture these inexpensively and really changed um, radon testing, that in the fact that we can actually provide this kind of sensor not only for professionals but for homeowners as well, and that had never been really available before, because a sensor with this kind of counting efficiency was just too darn expensive for someone to be able to purchase unless they were doing a lot of radon testing as a professional, and even then they were costly. So I actually retired from Arston and RPP a few years ago after being the executive director there, and called up the company to invest in Ecosense, and I was talked into going to work for them. So I didn't retire. Here I am, kind of having some fun looking at some new ways to utilize the sensor, and one of those ways that's been around for a little while, but is the topic for tonight. We have a lot of different sensors or a lot of different devices that use this sensor. Most of you may be familiar with our consumer devices like the EcoBlue and the original Radon Eye and the EcoCube. And then we have professional devices. The Radon Eye Pro and the EcoCube Pro and EcoGuard are NRPP approved devices. EcoTracker is not, because it's a diagnostic device, and it really wasn't intended for doing regular testing, full tests to make a decision to mitigate or not. It's for helping mitigators like perhaps some of you design a better system, and that's what we're going to talk about. So our topic tonight is the EcoTracker. They come in a set of 4, and we call it the great hotspot finder. So what you can do with these is be able to put them out in different locations around a foundation, around a basement, or a combination basement, crawl space, whatever, to help you determine, perhaps where are the largest or the strongest radon entry points. And you can look at 4 different devices on your mobile app and compare one spot against the others. And we found that mitigators are having a lot of success using these in designing their systems. And the idea for this actually didn't come from Ecosense. It came from a couple of leading mitigators that have been around for a long time, or researchers. One of them was Bill Broadhead. If you've been around the radon industry for any length of time, you've heard of Bill Broadhead. He's from Pennsylvania, and he's done a lot of research. And he's sort of semi-retired, but still piddles, if you will, with radon projects and research. And when the Radon Eye was first introduced, and he was using those because of their counting efficiency to help him determine hotspots in difficult buildings, and he suggested to us that, wow, it would be really great if you could change the data logger, or have the ability to change the data logger to be able to report in shorter increments. And we're able to do that because the counting efficiency on the sensor is so good. So we're able to get some reasonable numbers, at least for doing diagnostic investigations, in as fast as 5 minutes or 10 minutes. So the EcoTracker has the ability to set the count interval at every 5 minutes or every 10 minutes or at every hour. So that enables you to get some quick readings and kind of compare one spot to the other throughout the building. So it does come with a mobile app, as you saw in the last slide. It connects to the devices via Bluetooth. Um, and you get an overview page that shows the multiple devices and their radon readings where you can see them. So we call the 5 minute or the 10 minute intervals the sniff mode. And then if you want to switch over to hourly readings, you can do that as well. You can see the graph of the historical trend. It's compatible with the iOS and Android mobile devices. The measurement range will go from 0 up to 255 picocuries per liter. If it's higher than that, well, then you're pretty sure that's a strong source. So that works really well. And so to give you an idea of the kinds of things, if you haven't used one of these before, if you look over on the top left, you can see the construction of a front stoop. And that's going to have you can see it's being backfilled and tamped down, and then there'll be a slab or something poured up there, or a deck. And oftentimes in the basement, there can be radon coming through the wall, the foundation wall, because it's building up under those steps or that front porch. And that can be an entry point that you might not be able to connect to with your pressure field extension. You may be doing well across the slab, but not through that particular spot. I've had mitigators tell me that they've often found um, closing the door in the garage and waiting for a little bit, they can start to see a buildup of radon there. You can over on the right side, in the top right, you can see where the garage is. There's a lot of dirt under that car that's up adjacent to the basement wall. And oftentimes you could have good communication across that basement slab, but it could be coming in through the wall. So being able to have an EcoTracker over along that wall and comparing it to the other walls could be helpful, or even up in the garage with the door closed could help you indicate that there's a concentration building up coming in through the even around cracks and whatnot in the garage slab. You've got houses like the one in the top center. You can see different locations. Maybe there's a combination crawl space as well as basement or basement garage. Over on the bottom left, you can see that's a crawl space opening inside a basement. So I think you get the picture. It's a great way to put these out and kind of help figure out what's going on at the property. So a lot of mitigators tell me that when they first arrive at the job, the first thing they do before they unload all their materials and whatnot, they will go and put eco trackers out right away, where they can start to get some readings while they're even getting set up to do any work on the property, and that could help them influence decisions on how to proceed, and perhaps whether what they're thinking is a good place to put a suction point is or isn't, and also making sure that they're not leaving an area that could be problematic and result in a callback unattended to. So it's good to have the ability to do these diagnostics. Another uh, opportunity for using the EcoTracker is actually when you're first going to the site to prepare a proposal. And I hadn't really thought of this until I had mitigators telling me this worked very well for getting some initial information up front before they gave a proposal, but it's also a good sales opportunity. So They would go to the house to provide a quote. They would put these out first thing. And I have uh, mitigators tell me that the homeowner may ask them, "Well, what are you doing?" And they have an opportunity to explain that they're getting some data to help them better determine just what's going on in the building and how they're going to go about mitigating it. And that seems to impress the clients a lot more than the company that just came out and walked around and gave a quote, or even certainly the ones that don't even bother to go to the site and give a quote over the phone. So going to this little extra effort to get some data that's going to be useful to you as well as to impress your client can result in getting jobs, even if you're not the cheapest mitigator they're getting a proposal from. So data is impressive. And so as you're bidding these jobs, it's a good opportunity to wow your clients. Um, and I think people are impressed with a contractor that is data driven, and here's an opportunity for you to take advantage of the data and impress your client at the same time. Troubleshooting problem homes. If you're in the mitigation business for any length of time, even if you're in a place where you can poke and hope and it does the job most of the time, you're eventually going to run into a problem house. And in some areas, those problem houses are more common than others. And if you don't have a good way to do diagnostics, it can certainly be more costly. It can leave you looking like you don't know what to do, which isn't a good way to get good positive reviews from your customers. I have had mitigators call me up and say, "Well, I had a friend tell me about EcoTrackers and I need them right away. Can you overnight them to me because I've got this job that's giving me trouble and I'm out of ideas and I need to get some data." So you don't want to be in that position. If you are, then great. Here's a solution. But if you plan in advance, you can have those with you, and you can address these kinds of situations um, before they get too out of hand. Another opportunity is there are some states that require you as a mitigator to track worker exposure. And typically that has been done in the unit called working level months, where you take your working level concentrations, multiply it by the number of hours exposed, and then divide by 170 hours in the working month. And you probably remember some of that from your initial training class. When I was with ARST, I made a suggestion to the Standards Consortium that perhaps they come up with an alternative calculation for calculating picocurie per liter months, and assuming a 100% equilibrium ratio, which would be the absolute worst case, even though that would be difficult to achieve. And they worked on it for a little bit, and we were able to get this put into the standard as a result of the committee looking at it and deciding. So you can calculate picocurie per liter months. It's a pretty simple calculation. It's all in the standard, but you need to have a way to take some measurements. You could certainly just use whatever the pre-mitigation test was, and multiply that times the hours you were working at the house. But if you're using EcoTrackers and you're getting some diagnostic data at the very beginning, you could change them over to the hourly reading at some point once you've got your plan together, and it can stay there and calculate the radon concentration for the time you're there, where you can log that into your job site log and keep track of your crew's worker exposure. So that's another opportunity. Um, And then finally, in some parts of the country, they're running into more and more situations where the radon isn't solely coming from below the slab or below the house in an earth crawl space or whatnot. They're finding areas, particularly in Florida and even up along the East Coast, where the concrete is contaminated with radium. In the East Coast and particularly around Florida and up into the Carolinas, and even as far west as portions of Tennessee, there are areas where they do gypsum phosphate mining, and the gyp phosphate is quite rich in radium. So if they pull the phosphate out for fertilizer or the gypsum out for gypboard, then what's left behind is even richer in radium, and they end up piling this stuff around in fields, trying to keep it from people. But oftentimes it gets decided by someone with a thinking mind. Well, let's do something useful, and so they'll say we could put it into the concrete mix, and that's been done a lot in certain areas over time, and so if that kind of contamination gets put into the concrete as a filler for that concrete, that it can certainly be emanating radon. If that's the issue, then you need to have the ability to take a flux measurement. And I'm not going to get into how you can do this, but if you'd like to get a couple of research papers on how to take a flux measurement using EcoTrackers, then I'll be glad to share those with you if you'll send me an email. But it can be helpful in those situations when you run across them. You can see here are some examples of some flux measurements that Bill Broadhead made on and presented in one of his papers. It's based on the emanation rate in the bucket. And again, I'm not going to get into the math. I'd have to get the paper out and walk through it as I talk to you, because I can't remember it off the top of my head. And even I'd have to follow the directions. But be glad to share it with you. So I think my intent here this evening was to give you an opportunity to think about, if you have EcoTrackers already and you've got more than one crew, your business is growing, and you need to have another set where you're not having to figure out, well, where you need them and where you don't. Everybody has every truck has a set on the truck. Then we're going to give you a great deal to purchase a set this evening. If you haven't used EcoTrackers and you're in the mitigation business, you've probably been putting off too long. Going ahead and getting a set, it can be one of the most valuable tools in your toolbox. So you want to get a set of these, and we want to make them as affordable as we can. So that's part of what this webinar is about. And they typically sell for $999 for a set of 4. It comes in a padded case where you can carry them around. And I've been talking to our CEO, and we said, we need to see if we can make these less expensive for a little while, and really get them out there to more mitigators who would like the opportunity to do these kinds of diagnostic measurements and save those callbacks, and impress your clients and help make good proposals, knowing what you're getting into up front rather than finding out after the fact. So we're offering $200 off. That's the best deal we've had on EcoTrackers since I've been with the company. I urge you to take advantage of this. We're going to leave this sale on until tomorrow night at midnight. Tomorrow night at midnight, it will expire. What you'll do is go to our website at ecosense.io and go to the 4 Pro section, find the EcoTrackers, and you can go ahead and put set in the cart. And when you get over into the cart at checkout, you will get a place to put in a discount code. And that discount code, again, is Dallas 200 off, Dallas 200 off. And that will change the price over in the checkout box from $9.99 to $7.99, where you can take advantage of that great deal. So the last thing I want to leave you with is we have really good customer service. We have Jane and Eileen. If you've talked to them on the phone, they're very helpful. And if they can't answer your questions and take care of your needs, then they will forward that over to me or one of my other colleagues to help you. We'd really like an opportunity to be of service to you any way we can. And we also share ideas. We get input from professionals like you all the time, and we'd like to turn around and give that back to the community, not only in what we design and create for customers, but also just to share the experiences because we want to help you do your job better and keep you coming back to Ecosense for your products. So that's really all I have tonight. Is I know it's a short interview, but I want to take any questions and see if I look here. Do the devices require annual calibrations? Well, no, and the reason they don't is you're not going to be using these to make a decision to mitigate or not mitigate. So it's not like you're doing reports with these. They're not going to give you, they don't have report software. They don't have a dashboard to help you keep your records. So these are not for doing pre-mitigation tests for making a decision to mitigate. It's when there's already been a proper protocol test performed and you are investigating to see what you have to do to mitigate, and you're needing more data for that. Good question. Thanks for asking. Can you add kits together, as in use 8 devices at once or 12 devices at once, and have all the data combined the same way as if you use 4 devices? That's a great question. I think you can put 4. I know you can get 4 on one app. I don't know if you got the other 4, if you have to put them, if you have to pull them up again. I think they'll all go on one app. I think you can add as many devices. Somebody just put in, Ray said, yeah, I think you can add more devices. Yeah, I've heard other customers, and I'm sorry, I've never tried to do that. But that's a great question. If I'm telling you wrong, I will put an announcement in when we follow up. I'll put a note in the follow-up emails to the when we send out the video for tonight's webinar, and I'll let you know. Let's see, do we have a discount on the Radon Eye Pro? Yes. If you will call me, my number is 678-983-9312. 678-983-9312, and I can get you a discount on the Radon Eye Pro. Got one, Ryan says, I get to deal with some large, tricky buildings sometimes. Yes, that's why we put this together. And Bill Broadhead has spent a lot of time, I'm doing research. He's traveled back and forth to Guam, for example, and other places internationally where there are military bases doing mitigation on military housing. And so, that's why he ran into this kind of situation, complicated buildings, and was trying to find some convenient ways and less expensive ways to get good diagnostic readings and be able to put them around in different locations and kind of see what could be problematic versus what seems to be fine. You know, you can do those communications tests with your, you know, for pressure field extension, and that's extremely important. But there are times where perhaps you're missing radon entry in other places. And I hear stories every week from somebody who calls in, oh, you won't believe what I just found. I had a very experienced mitigator call me a few months ago, and he said, wow, I had a troublesome house. I had great pressure field extension all across the slab. But I couldn't get the radon down below 4. And there were times when we were monitoring it after we mitigated where it would spike up really high. And you know, I said, well, is it on well? And he said, yeah, but we've tested the water, and the well water doesn't seem to be a problem. And as he was putting his EcoTrackers out and investigating, he found a place which was where the pipe from the well came into the basement, and it was sort of hidden. He wouldn't have seen it right away, except the EcoTracker that he had over in that area started to really spike, and it seemed to. He left them there overnight and came back the next day, and he could see there were times where this pathway where this pipe was coming in would sometimes burp. It was his explanation, where it would just kind of build up and then sort of pump radon in at a certain time. Maybe had to do with the way the wind was blowing. But once he figured that out, he was able to resolve the problem. But he was really glad he had the EcoTrackers to help him figure that out. Oh, got one here, an old courthouse that's 60 to 75% dirt floors and over 30,000 square feet basement area. Yeah, can't do much PFE testing without any concrete or vapor barriers in place. Yes. So that's a good thing to be able to get some measurements. I mean, I have been in situations where it was consistent and you know, but then you find that one place and you go, oh wow, this is really different right here. There's something going on, and it helps you helps draw attention to those areas that perhaps you'd miss, where you can figure out what's going on. Let's see, any other questions? Anybody got anything else in the chat? Okay. All right. So here's what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna go back to this slide, if I can get it to go backwards here. Whoop. And here's the discount code. You're gonna need to give me 5 minutes to go in and put this discount code in, because I got a phone call right before I started this, and I was just about to finish putting that into our Shopify system, and I didn't get it finished. So give me 5 minutes and I will put this code in where you can jump in and take advantage of this and get yourself a great deal on EcoTrackers. If you've got mitigator friends or other colleagues that have been thinking about this or don't even know about it, it's a good time to give them a call. Again, we'll keep the sale on until tomorrow night at midnight, and this is the cheapest we've had them. So look forward to getting your orders. If you have any questions, 678-983-9312. My email is djones, DJONES, at ecosense.io. Thanks a lot, and we'll see you next time.